If there's one place on Earth that you could call the islands of reptiles, it would be the Galapagos. Here the land is ruled by reptiles, and the one that reminds you most of the ancient dinosaurs is the large spiny yellow-orange land iguana. As soon as you land at the main airport of Baltra Island, or down on the waterfront where you are ferried to your cruise boat, you are likely to see your first large land iguana. You are lucky to see them, for in the 1940s, when this was an American air base, the Baltra land iguanas became extinct. They had only been saved earlier in 1932 and 33 by an American newspaper baron to fund the collection and shift of the small remnant group to nearby Seymour Island. This early decision to intervene and save a population of animals became the model for future generations of naturalist researchers and wildlife rangers to strongly intervene to ensure that the Galapagos Islands were returned to as pristine a condition as possible. This was to ensure that we could see the wonderful animal and plants as Charles Darwin would have seen them in 1835, when he first gained a glimmer of a thought that would lead to his epic, world-changing book On the Origin of Species. Galapagos land iguanas are only found on 7 of the 15 large islands of the Galapagos Islands, 1,000 kilometres to the west of Ecuador, South America. These are remote and mostly arid islands, with a hostile-looking landscape bisected by the equator, remotely located in the Pacific Ocean. These islands have never been connected to the mainland. The animals and plants that are found there are often unique to these islands. Land iguanas at the Galapagos have 3 different forms. The most common orange form, with patches of black, brown and rust, is found in the dry lowlands of the 6 central to western islands of Fernandina, Isabella, Santa Cruz, North Seymour, South Plaza and Baltra. The monotone pale form, with longer crest spines, is only found on Santa Fe Island, while the pink form is only found on the upper slopes of Wolf Volcano on the northern end of Isabella Island. Galapagos iguanas are believed to have evolved from the South American green iguana that drifted the 1,000 kilometres across the ocean on rafts of vegetation. The young Charles Darwin was not impressed by the land iguanas and described them as being ugly animals. He thought that from their low facial angle that they had a stupid appearance. When he was left at Santiago Island, the land iguanas were in such large numbers that Charles Darwin could not find a spot free from their burrows on which to pitch their single tent. Today the abundant iguanas of Santiago Island are extinct, eradicated by feral cats, dogs, goats and pigs. The orange-red form of the land iguana grows to about 1 to 1.5 metres in length and has a body weight of up to 10 to 13 kilograms, and this depends on the island on which it lives. A land iguana may live between 50 to 60 years, and it's estimated there are between 5,000 and 10,000 land iguanas on the Galapagos. Because they are ectothermic, this means that their body temperature is regulated by a combination of the environmental temperature and their own behaviour. Early in the morning they sprawl out over the dark volcanic rocks, with their head facing the sun to absorb as much heat as possible to raise their operating body temperature. In the middle of the day, to avoid heat overload, they seek shelter under cactus, rocks, trees or other vegetation. At night, they retain their heat by sleeping in burrows. Fresh water is mostly absent from the arid islands of the Galapagos. The land iguanas gather most of their moisture from the Apunta prickly pear cactus on which they feed. When it does rain, the land iguanas go straight to small depressions in the rock and drink as much water as they can find. Land iguanas depend on low-growing plants and shrubs, as well as the fallen fruits and pads of the cactus plants. Although they often scrape the spines off the cactus pads with their claws, they do bite into the cactus pads, spines and all. Opunta cactus makes up about 80% of their diet, but they also eat the red-coloured succulent Vesuvium, also a wonderful supply of water. They are also opportunistic carnivores and eat insects, centipedes, and carrion that they can find. Galapagos land iguanas become sexually mature between 8 and 15 years of age. Males are territorial and actively defend an area that may contain more than one female. Male land iguanas can be quite aggressive toward each other. Soon after mating, the females move to sandy areas on the island to construct their burrow. They lay between 2 and 20 eggs in a self-dug hole that is about half a metre deep. The female will defend the burrow area for a while to prevent other females from nesting in the same place. The eggs hatch between 90 and 125 days later. The youngsters may take a week to burrow up through the half a metre of soil covering them. As with all lizards, there is no parental care after the egg laying. If the speckled youngsters survive the first few years of life, when water and food may be scarce and predators are a danger, they may live for 50 years. Native predators include the Galapagos hawk and the short-eared owl, as well as egrets and herons. Due to the feral animal introductions of pigs, goats, rats, cats and dogs, entire populations of land iguanas were reduced or wiped out on some islands. In 1976, wild dogs killed 500 land iguanas at Conway Bay, Santa Cruz, with only 60 survivors. Another attack occurred at Cartago Bay, Isabella Island, where only 30 iguanas were rescued. At the Charles Darwin Research Centre, a land iguana breeding centre was established to increase populations seriously threatened by feral animals. The wild dogs were killed off at Cartago and Conway Bays, goats were removed from several small islands, and pigs and cats are now being controlled on the other islands. At Baltra Island, an American military base during World War II, land iguanas were extinct by 1954. It was falsely reputed that they had been used as target practice by idle soldiers, but they succumbed to competition from introduced feral cats, goats and dogs. The Hancock expedition, under the patronage of William Randolph Hearst, the newspaper publisher baron, took a population of Baltra land iguanas to North Seymour Island in 1932 and 1933. This population survived and flourished to become the breeding stock for the Charles Darwin Research Station captive breeding program. These have been used to re-establish viable populations on Baltra Island and other nearby islands. There's nothing much that can tackle a mature land iguana, except for feral wild dogs. Small juvenile lizards are eaten by a number of native birds and introduced cats and dogs. Other threats include the consuming of the eggs and young lizards by introduced rats and cats, and the destruction of food plants by introduced goats. For this reason, land iguanas are listed as vulnerable by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, the IUCN Red List. Original populations of land iguanas have now been made extinct on a number of islands, including Baltra and Santiago. Efforts by the Galapagos National Parks and the Charles Darwin Research Centre are now breeding land iguanas to be reintroduced to these islands.